And you are looking live at Boone, North Carolina on this January 2nd, 2022, just after the 10 o'clock hour. I am James Brierton, and welcome to a live update from the Carolina Weather Net. We have our own Dylan Hudler, Scotty Powell, and Jared Smith standing by because it is a very eventful evening overnight through tomorrow here throughout the Carolinas. And let's just show you real fast all of the different advisories and things that are on the screen. There goes a snow plow past Scotty Powell, and we'll get out to him in just a moment there in Boone. But again, back to this map right now. You've got winter storm warnings up in the North Carolina mountains with winter weather advisories down into places like Hickory. We'll show you some more of that. You got that big yellow area that is down in the south portions of South Carolina. We're talking Hilton Head into the Savannah Metro. That is a tornado watch that is in effect. All that information is scrolling at the bottom of your screen. That's Allendale, Beaufort, Colleton, Hampton, and Jasper until 3 a.m. And then you've got some browns across the Midlands of South Carolina and the central portions of North Carolina. That is for a wind advisory. It was just expanded into the Charlotte area. We'll see that on the screen here in a little bit. And on top of all of that, mixed into that mess of colors, is also a flood watch that is in effect for portions of the Triangle, the Piedmont, and into the I-95 corridor. So we've got a lot to talk about, from tornadoes on the coast to winter in the mountains. It is the most Carolina thing it could possibly be. And we're looking forward to your questions and comments in our live chat as well. That's enough for me. Let's get back out to Boone, North Carolina, to talk about this snow potential before we head down to Jared Smith to talk about the storm potential. And once again, joining us from Boone, North Carolina, they are actually right there behind that red car on the street corner. It's our own Scotty Powell and Dylan Hudler, who are gearing up for their overnight early morning snow chase, guys. Is that right?
That's right. That's right, James, Jared. Thank you. And like you said, it's just another typical day in the Carolinas full of weather here. We're in Boone, North Carolina, where a winter storm warning is in place, ready to intercept some snow. Scotty, what have we been seeing out here?
Yeah, in fact, the temperature's been dropping over the last hour or so. We're down into the mid-40s, actually starting to feel a little bit of raindrops move into the area. So that is the beginning of what is expected to be a pretty big winter storm up here in the mountains. Actually, Dylan, we were talking to the folks at our hotel tonight, and they're loving the snow potential because there's been no snow up here this year. So everyone up here excited. I think you just saw a snow pile a little bit ago. So we are anticipating a pretty big snowfall event, Dylan. Here in Boone, where we're at 3,000, 4,000 feet, we're looking at maybe 2 to 5 inches. But
around there,
Beach Mountain higher, we could see double digits.
Roan Mountain, double digits. Yes, it's going to be dumping snow tomorrow morning in the higher elevations. Some wind. We may even have blizzard-like conditions. But as Scotty said, here a little bit less in lower elevations.
Yeah, and we're also looking for thunder snow, and we're going to be forecasting that, or looking at that forecast anywhere between the 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. time frame. Really looks like things get cranked up here in the mountains, and so we're going to be out looking for the elusive thunder snow, guys, and we can't wait for that.
We are looking forward to seeing your videos tomorrow on YouTube, your updates on social media. What time are you anticipating to see the first flakes where you are there in the higher country?
Here in the higher country, we're expecting, after looking at some of the most recent model data, to maybe see around 6 a.m. the first transition from rain and sleet, freezing rain mix, from a wintry mix, maybe purely over to snow between 6 and 7 a.m. That's at the time we look to head out and head from Boone into the Banner Elk, Sugar Mountain, Beach Mountain, toward Roan Mountain area into some of the higher elevations. That's our plan. Like I said, around 6 a.m. is maybe the first time we transition from heavy rain or wintry mix, which Carolinas are going to be getting soaked tonight to the north of that low pressure, deepening low pressure system. Heavy rain first, wintry mix next, and then around 6, 7 a.m. transitioning to snow.
And James, really the snow doesn't stop after that. As we get into the noontime hour, afternoon hours, we're going to get some of that northwest flow snow as well. So it may not be as heavy as we're expecting tomorrow morning, but we're going to see snow showers up here in the mountains throughout the day tomorrow, all throughout the mountains.
They will linger, yes.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting continued start to 2022. And up on the screen right now, and in addition to your pretty faces, we do have the HRR model run. And just look, you can see all of that rain right now that stretches across so much of the Carolinas. And as we take it through the overnight hours, folks, notice that circle, that bullseye that is developing here just north of the Augusta area, that is the thing that is fueling all of this. The low pressure system that is going to be riding right across the Carolinas, sucking in some of that cold air back behind some of this precipitation that's going to turn it then into maybe snow, maybe wintry mix. That's the purple. And of course, where the guys are in the high country in Boone, it's guaranteed to be snow. That's why they've positioned themselves there. But so much of our conversation today has been whether or not any of these snowflakes will fall into Raleigh, into Greensboro, into Charlotte metro area. I mean, I think it's safe to say that we're not really going to see anything in terms of snow in Charlotte sticking on the ground. I'm not going to wake up to a winter wonderland tomorrow, but it's possible. It's possible we could see a wet flake or two. But I think the best indication for anyone at home right now is trying to figure out where exactly the accumulations are expected. You can tell that based on the way the National Weather Service has colored the watches and warnings and advisories across the area. It's those areas in pink and in purple where we can see some accumulating snow. Unless you guys feel differently, Scotty. I know last night you and I were sitting here about this time talking, and I think you were feeling a little bit more optimistic.
Yeah, I honestly feel more optimistic. And you were talking about those advisories. They've actually been extended into the foothills. At first this morning, they were confined to the mountains. Now it's been extended into the foothills where up to an inch could happen in the Catawba Valley from Marion, Morganton, up to Hickory. So I feel like a lot of folks are going to see some snow. I do believe that we may see some slushy accumulations if you can get under that really intense, heavy band of snow, maybe somewhere in the foothills, the Piedmont. But, I don't think it's going to be on the ground a long time. So if you see it, enjoy it because it's going to be melting pretty quickly with the warm ground temperatures. And, I hope it satisfies a lot of folks who've been wanting to see snow. It's not going to be the big snows that everybody's going to be wanting, but at least maybe it'll satisfy that appetite for something later on down here in the wintertime.
Yeah, we will see. Bruce is watching right now on Facebook saying, send some snow down to Columbia. I don't think it's going to quite reach down to Columbia, unfortunately, Bruce, but here is a look at the official National Weather Service forecast, where you can see some light accumulations as far south as Asheville or Hickory, up to an inch, maybe just under an inch in Greensboro. And then, of course, you've got Boone, about 5 inches or so, Cherokee at 4 inches, Murphy there in the western portions of North Carolina at about 2 inches. But again, the question's going to be, do we really get accumulating snow in Greensboro? Do we really get any of those wet flakes into the Charlotte or the Raleigh area? And if we do, folks, I got to make this clear. It's going to happen during the overnight and early morning hours. And so you might have to get up nice and early. And I think it was Tim Buckley who tweeted earlier, don't get your kids too excited. If it happens to snow in the morning, just be pleasantly surprised. As opposed to letting them down. Let's look one more time here at the HRR Futurecast, and you can see lots of rain across the Carolinas as you head to bed tonight. We're going to talk about that severe potential in just a moment. Then that low coming across the Carolinas here during the early morning hours, and then there it is, the snow trying to work its way possibly further south than I-40. But I think if I had to give a particular delineation tonight, it's going to be really hard to get accumulating snow south of I-40. But Marty watching on Facebook tonight asking about Morganton. So Scotty, that's your home turf. What's your call for Morganton?
We can talk about. I'm going to get out of this awning, so maybe it's not as echoey. But for Morganton, I think that as James was saying, as the sun starts to rise 6, 7, 8 o'clock, we could see that transition in the foothills. And if we see snow falling at a heavy rate, I think we could get maybe an inch, a slushy inch. It's all going to be determined on how hard the snow is falling to the ground. Those high intense snowfall rates can overcome a warm ground temperature. If it's just a light snow with flurries and stuff, it's going to melt. But if we can really see that heavy snow, that's where we're going to see it really overtake those warm ground temperatures. And you could get a slushy inch. And Dylan, it's not going to be there all day. It's going to be there, and maybe an hour or two, it's going to be gone.
Yep. With the warmer temperatures in the Piedmont and coastal plain, you'll definitely see some novelty flakes, most likely north or along and north of I-40. I think Charlotte has a hard time. May see a few, but they'll be brief and they'll be wet. No accumulations there. But I think along and north of I-40, you got a good chance at seeing some snowfall for maybe an hour or so tomorrow morning. And the heavier it is, the more excited you can get. You may have a slushy accumulation on the ground and some elevated surfaces. It's the same type of thing we're dealing with here, being in the higher elevations, same in the Piedmont. Even though the elevations aren't thousands of feet, maybe just a few feet off the ground, you'll probably see some more. So grab you a cup of coffee in the morning along and north of I-40 and sit out on the porch, wake up a little bit earlier, get you a cup of coffee and admire and enjoy the snowfall while you have it, because it might not last that long. It won't stick around, but it'll be pretty to watch when it is falling.
And James, one other thing I want to tell you, McDowell County schools are on that 2-hour delay for Monday morning for school. So we are starting to see some area school systems announce some delays. So McDowell County 2-hour delay for the start of school tomorrow, just because of that snow threat.
That is good to know. We see you guys out here on relatively calm King Street in Boone.
Yeah. It's empty here. I mean, it's nobody's back from winter break yet. So the college, actually, Appalachian State's literally right behind us, and there's nobody on campus. It's kind of almost like a ghost town up here. So there's not a lot of people out here. And, a lot of folks will let the traffic go by. A lot of folks up here, a lot of the locals at least, are wanting this snowfall because, A, it brings people up to the mountains with tourism. And Dylan, it's been a terrible ski season, and this is really going to help those guys out as well.
Yeah, it is really going to help those guys out. We were actually talking to the guy at our hotel. He's excited about the snow. He's a longtime resident of Boone and went to Appalachian State University. And there's even people staying in the hotel we are that are vacationing here that are excited about the snow. We talked to a family that was from Wilmington that said they don't get a lot of snow. They can remember some ice a few years ago, but they're excited to see some snow with their family. And it's definitely a different vibe here in Boone without the hustle and bustle of the college student crowd. But just as we're talking here, Scotty, a few more sprinkles of rain starting to fall, and we might be seeing the first precipitation of the day, of the night, the event here in Boone.
Yeah, it is starting to rain here. So we're starting to get that precipitation moved into the area. So we may have to get back in the car here as it gets a little bit harder, but heavier, but we can join from the car. But yeah, it is starting to rain here with the temperature of, let me look here, 45 degrees now in Boone. So it is starting to cool off.
About 8 degrees since we've gotten here a couple hours ago.
And this rain will actually, what we call dynamic cooling. This rain will actually cool the environment as well. So the temperatures will really start to drop, and the drops of rain are getting bigger and bigger. So we're going to head back to the Jeep that way, and we'll continue the conversation here in a little bit.
That sounds good. Scotty
It's raining
Powell,
hard now.
Dylan Hudler live in Boone, North Carolina. We'll check in with you guys again in just a few minutes. We got standing by for us in Charleston, Jared Smith. I'll get to him in just a moment. But just as we were talking here in the last few moments, we had that wind advisory expanded out not only across the Raleigh and the Greensboro area, but now issued here on the map. You can see it in Charlotte. You can see it in Statesville. You can see it down into Spartanburg and Greenville. And just as the elevation ticks its way up, we now have a high wind warning that is in effect. This is for the potential of damaging winds here. The National Weather Service telling us they wouldn't be surprised if they see 40, 50 mile per hour gusts, possibly even higher as you make your way up into the Blue Ridge. So we've talked about the snow. We're talking now about the wind. We'll talk more about the rainfall totals and the potential for some flooding, especially across the Piedmont. But let's talk about this big, giant yellow box, the tornado watch that is in effect until 3 a.m. in the morning. Joining us now from Charleston, South Carolina, Jared Smith. So, Jared, we've got snow, but we've got severe weather. It's all that Carolina weather has to offer.
Yeah, we are on this. So I'm here from the warm side of the storm. We're not going to see any snow here in Charleston. I apologize to my Charleston followers. I wish I could get you some snow, but yeah, that's not going to happen. So yeah, we're on the warm side of the storm. We are kind of been a little bit rainy today. You can see the College of Charleston can there. Really fairly quiet, and it's been fairly quiet in much of the downtown throughout the day. We've had a line of thunderstorms moving generally eastward, but kind of weakening and stalling out as we run into marine layer issues and other things of that nature. Let me go ahead and take my radar there we go. And that's okay, and that's really funny because for some reason I am green screen.
You got the green
here.
screen on again. Yes.
Yes, I did that. I did that again. All right. So anyway,
we'll let you fix that real
while
fast.
while I fix that, but what we wanted to, what we want to talk about is a very tricky forecast. This is a very difficult forecast for us to really be able to deal with. So now we can take the radar again, and and so first of all, I guess let's do the situation. So again, we have the tornado watch. This is just extended to 3 a.m. Colleton, Allendale, Hampton, Jasper, and Beaufort counties in South Carolina extends down through the coastal plain of Georgia and gets into Florida as well, and that goes until 3 a.m. We have not seen the watches come much further north. If that happens, that's probably going to be later tonight. Hopefully not too late. We do want people to, if it is warranted, we do want people to be, aware of this. But certainly, line of thunderstorms really begins to weaken as you get to the north here. Let me pull up the temperatures and show you kind of what we're dealing with here. So here's the temperatures, and here's the low center again. We were talking about that surface low around Atlanta here, and you can start to see where the on the graphic here a little bit. You can start to see where the fronts are beginning to take shape, and so I'll draw with my pen here. So here's your low here, rough location, and then there's your cold front here, and there's your warm front here. We're starting to see some of the temperatures and the dew points, especially near the Charleston metro, begin to come up. So that's a trend that we've been watching now for the last hour or so. That's really started to come into play here, and as that happens, we should start to see a little bit more instability build in. So we're going to look at the mixed layer instability here, and again, there's really not there's not too much to write home about. Instability is going to be the limiting factor through all of this. So let's go to the radar and the satellite here, kind of back this up and kind of rock this back and forth for you guys so you can see kind of what we're dealing with here. There's your line of storms pushing through. It is most potent in Florida and Georgia. That's where we have the best air mass right now. The marine layer may be having something to do as well with keeping Charleston kind of quiet, which is good news. But the expectation is that as we go throughout the evening, we're going to start to see this warm sector continue to lift more north and lift north into southeast North Carolina. Again, that's why when we look at let me do that, and we'll look at the day one outlook. We still have that slight risk in effect all the way from Florida all the way up to Georgia, into much of South Carolina and into southeastern North Carolina. So something to keep an eye on tonight. So here's here's what the H3R model, the HRRRRR, so to speak. This is what it's thinking right now as we go. So this gets to us about 1 a.m. And you can see that we're putting in some low level flow from the ocean here. But the other thing that I wanted to point out, I'm going to turn on another level of wind here. This is the 850 winds, and this is basically 5,000 feet up or so. And and you can see you got flags here. Flags mean 50 knots, 50 to 60 knots. And so any of these thunderstorms that can really tap into that and can pull those gusts to the ground, that's where we're concerned about a damaging wind threat. And then the other concern is obviously with not only speed shear, but turning of the winds with height, and that's where your tornado threat is going to happen. And as we see the low begin to move out of Georgia and move into South Carolina, we're going to see that low level jet continue to intensify and drag that and really drag that cold front through much of South Carolina overnight.
Jared, what time is this approximately?
Yeah. So here now we're looking at about 3 a.m. So here's 3 a.m. Um, Something to keep in mind too is that the model timings are not going to be exact. Oftentimes what we find is that these models can be a little bit slower than what actually happens. So always a caveat here when we're dealing with time, but moving this through to let's move this through to 7 a.m. By 7 a.m. we have the front offshore of South Carolina. You have the greatest risk potentially for any severe weather now moving into southeast North Carolina and into maybe the Outer Banks. But again, instability being the main driver here, we'll have to see, just how far north that can get into play. So again, I think the thing that we want to stress is that there is a risk for severe weather tonight.
Yeah.
But the problem is that we don't know how unstable the atmosphere is going to get. We've had a good bit of rainfall across the area today. I'll take that. I mean, let's look at the storm totals so far. We've had pretty decent rainfall, and we've been running somewhat cooler throughout the day. But we are starting to see that we're now up to 70 at the Charleston airport. So to give you a general idea of how things have warmed up, we've gone from about 64 to 70 in the last 30 minutes. So again, that warm front is starting to get on the move here a little bit, and we're going to have to watch these cells carefully as they move eastward to see if they begin to tap into some of those greater dynamics that are moving into place. I'll show you the other thing that's really driving this here is there is a massive trough, and this is why, and this is a big reason why we're seeing a lot of this. This massive upper low is starting to take on more of a neutral tilt, and what that does is basically it's a little bit. What is the best layman way to describe this? A little bit more energetic. Let me put it that way. It's a little bit more energetic. Yeah, it is that much more energetic. And as we can see on the water vapor here, you can see that dry air being pulled in, and you can see on the right side of it, you can see a lot of water vapor transport here, a lot of lift happening, some divergence to allow those updrafts to grow. So yeah, this is this is helping kick off the low in Georgia. So that low tracks north and northeast, and then heads offshore, and then makes things extremely interesting heading up into the Mid-Atlantic and potentially into parts of North Carolina. But again, I think the take home right now is that we do have a tornado watch in effect until 3 a.m. Yeah. We may see additional watches come up. My advice is going to be, given the dynamics at play and everything like that, I would go ahead and I'd just be ready with that weather radio. I'd be charging your phones tonight, making sure that they're off silent so you can hear the warnings if they do come across, if a tornado warning is issued. That's handheld weather radio is a great way to do it. Your local television news apps, smartphone apps, that'll take care of it as well. Just as long as you can hear it and make sure that it can wake you. And what do you do? What do you do if that warning is issued? One, you're not going to go looking for it because it's dark and it probably is going to be rain wrapped. So you're just going to go right to your safe place, an interior room on the lowest floor of a site-built structure. If you're in a mobile home, really be thinking about where you might go if a warning is issued. What kind of site-built structure could be around? Tornadoes in mobile homes don't mix. And straight line winds in mobile homes sometimes do not mix. So that's something else to consider as well.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is the wind behind it.
That's just what this setup needed, was yet another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at like Wilmington area, gusts 40, 50, 55 miles an hour. It's going to be really windy tomorrow, which in and of itself is a hazard to bring down tree branches and power lines.
Certainly. And again, this strengthening low, let me go back to my model here. So this is 8 a.m. tomorrow. You can see we have the line of storms there. That's mostly offshore South Carolina, working its way up in North Carolina. Let me turn the precip typing on real quick. They'll give a general idea of where the snow and the wintry mix is going to be, maybe even some freezing rain for the north. So at that point, we're still dealing with all rain on the east side of the storm, but it's going to cool off very quickly. This is, you don't get, it is very hard, as we said the other night, it's very hard to get snow on the backside of a system like this. But with the moisture profiles in place and the very quick cooling that is going to happen on the backside of this, that's how we're going to be able to get some snow out of this up in North Carolina.
Let's talk about that cooling here, because here's the HRR, and we tweeted this earlier, and it's amazing. Are you ready for this, folks? So look, right, we got 65, almost 70 degrees right now along the coast. We got 50s in the high country, and then watch to the temperature profiles as we go on through the next few hours. You'll notice that low now coming into South Carolina. That is, the low is the center of the bullseye there on your screen. So it's over I-85 and, Greenville, Spartanburg, coming into the Charlotte area right there. And now watch what happens. The warm air gets pinched and removed, and it gets pushed out by winter. Now, suddenly we were below freezing in Charlotte, but just watch. I mean, it's incredible just to watch it get enclosed and pushed out. I mean, I think I could literally watch this all day.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, except for all the problems that it could potentially cause. But it's a quite potent system, and with that kind of upper level energy moving through, it's going to really help drive the sharpness of those fronts as they move by. So certainly going to be very interesting. And I think a lot of people, I have heard from a lot of people who are ready for some winter. I don't know that I agree, but they claim, that's a claim that was made, but I think winter is only good when you have snow. I think Scotty's getting potentially the better end of the deal on this. Scotty and Dylan, they're going to certainly have some fun with this tomorrow, but
yeah.
Hey, I got to show you that.
Speaking of, it's like Rumpelstiltskin. You said his name and he came back. Yeah. All right, I want to show people in a moment the Storm Prediction Center areas where they think the severe weather is going to be, but I get the impression that Scotty's got something he's just got to show us right now, despite his low bandwidth. What is it, Scotty?
Yeah. So a lot of folks here in the mountains, they've actually got their windshield wipers up off of the windshields for the chance of snow. I know a lot of folks get that snow caked in off on the windshield, and so everyone's getting up here prepared. We're back here at the hotel now, and I'll say the parking lot is full. I mean, wow. There's a lot of folks up here now. Maybe just come see some snowfall as well. But the rain is on and off up here, but the temperature has fallen to about 44 degrees now, so it is getting cooler.
That is good to hear. We'll let you guys get connected back up to the Wi-Fi there, because your picture on our screen right now is so tiny. And I want to show people back to what Jared was just talking about a moment ago. Here's the chance for that severe weather as we go on through the overnight hours, according to the Storm Prediction Center from the National Weather Service. We have that slight risk, that yellow tier 2 out of 5, up for Columbia, Charleston, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, and then coming out from that, stepping down one tier, we have the marginal, the darker green, tier 1 out of 5 for places like Spartanburg and Greenville and Charlotte, and even Greenville, North Carolina for that matter as well too, and kind of what that equates to in terms of the probability of seeing these severe events. It's a 5% chance of seeing a tornado here in the Brown area across a lot of the same area where we described seeing the slight risk. It is a 15% chance of seeing damaging winds of 60 miles per hour or greater. If there's any saving grace, the only thing we're really not talking about tonight is tropical weather or the possibility of hail. You can see when I ask it for the kind of prediction on hail, it is very, very quiet. So Robert asking tonight, what about the Winston-Salem area? Not much to have to contend with there with regards to severe weather, but Winston-Salem is right on that borderline of who could or could not see a dusting of snow, Robert. So it is, I think, potential that Winston-Salem could go either way here in terms of whether or not there is any snow to contend with. And you can see when we look at the official advisories from the National Weather Service, when I scroll this back up, Winston-Salem is right here, just outside of the purple winter weather advisory. And although it's not official officially in there. I wouldn't be surprised if you do, in fact, see a little snow. Hey, here's a fun fact for you as we're continuing our conversation tonight. A winter weather advisory means some form of winter weather is occurring. Winter storm warning means a lot of winter weather is occurring. A winter storm watch means they're monitoring for the potential. But we have to remember, and this often gets confused, is the tiers of bulletins go warning, advisory, watch. We so often want to switch around advisory and watch. But watch means we are monitoring for the potential of X weather type, in this case, winter weather. Advisory means we are getting a small amount of it, either now or in the near term. And winter storm warning means we're getting a larger amount of it. So when we're talking about winter storm warnings and winter storm advisories, those are places that have high confidence in seeing some winter weather as we head on through the night. Thanks to everybody who's been watching with us so far here. It's 1040. James Brierton along with Dylan Hudler and Scotty Powell there in Boone preparing for their snow chase tomorrow. And then we got the Charleston weatherman himself, Jared Smith, joining us from Charleston. So I see that our snow chasers have settled back into their hotel. What time are you guys getting up? What time's that alarm clock set for?
Man,
I think it's going to be 5 a.m.
yeah,
at least.
5:30. Looks to be the alarm clock setting. We got free breakfast here, so
Grab a little bite to eat.
get a little bite to eat. And
Dress warm. Head out the door.
See what we can get
Game
into.
on.
A lot of people checking in though. I think a lot of people have caught wind that it's going to snow up here and maybe come up for the day. Some people
snow fun activities.
Yeah, some people still have a few days off from the New Year holiday. I don't think everybody has to go back to work tomorrow. So
I think there are people who have to go back to work tomorrow who are hoping for an extra day of holiday vacation.
Yeah. Hey, in this remote work world, I guess you could do a little work and enjoy the snow all on the same day. So.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case, especially if you get into an area where you get some slush or you get even some icing, that could make travel really, really hazardous. And that's the not fun side of this particular threat. Here's what you can expect from us here at the Carolina Weather Group. We will have our nonstop loop, the Carolina Weather Net, streaming throughout the night for free on our Carolina Weather Group YouTube channel with real-time warnings from the National Weather Service along with radar and sky cams. And I'm all but certain that we're going to run an additional YouTube stream overnight that is looking at the radar for precip type so we can kind of watch that rain snow line. At least radar estimated as we go through the night. But the radar can only tell what's happening in the sky, and so much of this event is going to be about the air temperature and the melting layers, and might be snowing above your head, but it's melting by the time it gets down to you. So certainly use hashtag NCWX, hashtag SCWX on Twitter tomorrow so you can let us and the National Weather Service know the ground truth of what is occurring.
Hey, James, we can also recommend the MPing app.
Yeah.
Great way to do some citizen science, and you can download the app. It's free, and it gives you the opportunity to choose what's going on in your area, snow, rain, sleet, and it pops up on our radar maps, and that way we can kind of see some ground truth to what's really falling out there, because there is going to be that dividing line where some people see snow and some people see rain. I mean, that's just how it is.
It's the nature of winter weather. That's just how it goes.
Right, absolutely.
Especially down there where you are.
Especially down there where I am. Or really, let's talk about Michael watching on YouTube tonight asking about Mooresville, north of the Charlotte area. And so here's a current look at our future cast raining across much of the Carolinas. And then we'll kind of, again, play it through the overnight hours. Here comes that blue marching in. And, there's a question of, right in here, the model wants to take in enough cold air to actually put down some flakes over the Charlotte metro area and Mooresville. Will it happen? I'm not betting money. I'm not betting money on it.
I wouldn't bet money on it, but I wouldn't be surprised if you did see some flakes. I don't expect any accumulations at all. Yeah. But
I wouldn't be surprised to see flakes falling from the sky. But I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have the expectation of, man, the ground's going to be wide. I can go out and go sledding or
no,
anything
definitely
like
not that. That's setting the bar a little too high.
Right. Let me move our faces out of the way here for eastern North Carolina so they can see a little bit of where this rain snow line kind of comes in, because Elizabeth City could see some snow. And I think I was just laughing about that the other day with the live stream with Jared when I was like, it's not going to snow at the coast. I don't know. Technically, if it snows right there out, the Virginia coastline, that would technically be snowing at the coast. So we got our weather radio man hanging out with us on YouTube from Asheville. Says he's heard it could get 1 to 4 inches in that Asheville area. I mean, if there's obviously going to be a place where you are pushing 4 inches, it's going to be up in the mountain. Now, the official forecast from the National Weather Service, downtown Asheville at about 1 inch, but you can see based on the terrain, you get out of that valley and you get out of that city. Yeah, I think it's fair to say you could be talking about 1 to 4 inches of snow in the Asheville metro area.
Yeah, Asheville's a tricky location because the actual city is in a little valley, the French Broad River Valley. So it kind of gets skipped over, but you go into the outskirts, it definitely
head up I-26 up the mountains a little ways, and you'll definitely hit some snow.
Definitely the opportunity to get some accumulating snow for sure.
Yeah, that would be really, really interesting. All right, we're going to start to wrap things up here. Let's start with you guys since you're on the screen right now, Scotty and Dylan. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, so we're here in Boone. Winter storm warning, I think, goes in effect at midnight tonight, maybe 10 p.m., 1 and 2. And, we're expecting to see some snowfall tomorrow. It's already started raining out there. It's going to transition to some sleet. And then Dylan, around sunrise is when...
Sunrise, 6, 7 a.m. I think we're going to see a full transition to snow, heavy at times. The higher in elevation you go, the more we get high elevations, Rome Mountain, Beach Mountain, Sugar Mountain, those locations near the ski resorts in the western North Carolina mountains. I think we could see some double digits in spots.
Yeah, our plan is to start here in Boone, work our way up to Banner Elk and Beach Mountain. And if the roads allow, we're going to make sure that we're safe. Yes. Try to maybe see what we can get up on Roan Mountain, where it looks like they could possibly get double-digit snowfall amounts up there. So we'll see.
What a way to start off the year. We have Evan Fisher, who's out and about. We do know from the Park Service that Mount Mitchell State Park is closed because they anticipate bad road conditions. And there's another aspect to this, and I'm just looking at a tweet here from StarMed Healthcare. Here's another aspect of this we haven't really even talked about, but be advised, winter weather advisories for sleet and inches of snow in the mountains tomorrow means that StarMed's Bumpkin County, Ashe County, Allegheny, and Watauga County testing sites for COVID-19 will be closed on Monday, January 3rd because of the weather. So with all that is going on the pandemic side of things, that could also hamper access to particular health care. Crystal watching on Facebook tonight, I really hope the Triad could get some good snow. This warm weather is just odd. It is really peculiar to go from record-breaking heat to possibly snowing, but I can't think of anything more Carolina than that. So guys, you stay safe out there. We'll be looking for all your messages early in the morning across the platforms of the Carolina Weather Group, and looking forward to it. And for everyone who's hoping for snow, I'm crossing my fingers with you. Let's check back in.
Watch the ice.
Watch the ice.
Yeah.
It's
Watch
so
the ice
true.
down the toilet.
Flush the ice. Sleep with the spoon underneath your pillow.
The Superstitions.
And wear your pajamas inside out.
Yep.
We were talking last night about the Superstitions.
They got some snow today.
It's true. Flushing ice cubes down the toilet worked for Memphis. It could work for you. That was one I hadn't heard of. Although, Jared, I was familiar with putting the spoon underneath my pillow. Do you do any winter weather superstitions, Jared?
No, I actually try not to talk about it because if I talk about it and get too excited about it, it usually doesn't pan out. So the key is to bury the bar. And if you see a flake, then that's great. That's how we handle it here on the Charleston coast. Or we look at the Follies, or we look at the Folly.
We look at the Folly cam and get excited.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah, we look at the Folly cam. That's what we do.
Well, let's look at this. Here's a look at radar right now. We got heavy rain moving across the capital region of North Carolina. Not a whole lot of lightning associated with some of these storms tonight, but if James Spann can be tweeting about thunder snow in Alabama right now, I think it's the possibility we could see some of these storms begin to kick up again. Yes, Boone Bureau, you're very excited. What's up?
Listen, no, Dylan was telling me on the way here that James Spann tweeted out there's some thunder snow in Alabama.
Yes, you just got a report of thunder snow in Tuscaloosa County, north of Tuscaloosa and Northport. So if it can happen in Alabama, hopefully it can happen up here.
Right? I think that's there's something to that. There's something to looking what's out there and what's happening. We do have a couple areas of heavy rain coming across the Midlands of South Carolina right now. And Jared, I think we're still watching. You guys still have a tornado watch for Allendale, Beaufort, Colleton, Hampton, and Jasper counties until 3 a.m. Give us a little nowcast before we go here, Jared.
Yep. So a couple things of note. One, we are starting to see that, like I mentioned before, we're starting to see that boundary fluctuate a little bit of a warm frontal boundary. The warm sector might be trying to make a push north. We'll see what this ultimately means. The complicating factor is that, again, in the Charleston metro area in particular, it's been raining a lot today. Now, where the tornado watch has been out, there's not been as much. There's been more residence time for warming air. And so we're going to have to watch this closely. I think that's just the bottom line of this tonight, is that it's one of those things where the wind fields are such that you have to have the right amount of instability. Too little and the storm shear apart, just enough and look out. So my advice to everybody is be prepared for the lookout and hope for nothing. Because nothing is certainly a possibility. I don't want to sit here and say that, gloom and doom and death and destruction, because, nothing could very well happen. This is one of those things that is probably the worst kind of forecast that we can try and communicate, because it's one extreme to the other. So with that in mind, what I'm going to ask everybody to do tonight is just make sure that they've got their phones off Do Not Disturb, that you've got you got a charge sitting next to you. If you got a weather radio, it's ready to go. Make sure it can wake you and know what to do in case a warning is issued. And if you do those things, that's your superstition for things probably not happening. So we'll keep an eye on it and hope for the best and go from there.
We were asked that earlier on Twitter. What's the superstition to keep severe weather away? Being prepared.
Yeah, that tends to do it for me. So I would strongly recommend.
Yeah. Well, we thank you all for hanging out with us again here on the platforms of the Carolina Weather Group for this this very, very unique update powered tonight by the Carolina Weather Net, our non-stop feed. You can find it anytime on the YouTube channel of the Carolina Weather Group. Get access to that ticker that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And then when we're not doing live updates, or we're not in live severe weather coverage, you can watch the best of our weekly show, where we sit down and talk to newsmakers about weather across the Carolinas, but beyond as well, too. So if you're watching on our Carolina Weather Net, thanks so much for checking that out. We'll get you back to our regular scheduled programming in just a moment. Check it out anywhere you watch YouTube, from your smartphone to your smart TV. And if you're someplace else, like on Jared's Charleston Weather Facebook page, it's always good to see you, and be sure to like and subscribe wherever you're watching tonight so you can be notified when we come on the air with live updates just like this, because we'll be watching the radar here for the next little bit with that tornado watch in effect until 3 a.m. for those southernmost portions of South Carolina. Jared, one last look here at a weather bulletin map that just reminds me of something my toddler would have colored and drawn, because we've got the yellow for the tornado watch. We've got the browns for the wind advisories. We got the high wind warning right there along the ridge in upstate South Carolina. We've got your winter storm warnings. We've got your storm warnings along the coast, and mixed in here underneath this wind advisory, we really, frankly, didn't even really talk about it. We have a flood watch in effect because of the amount of rain that is going to be coming on through here in the next 24 hours. So what a Monday. Start off
with a hurricane.
Right? What'd you say? At least it's not a hurricane?
At least it's not a hurricane.
Wait, is this how 2022 is going to go for us?
I hope not.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Only time will
2022, the sequel.
Oh, thanks. It's really inspiring, guys.
We're going to peace out.
Yes, we are too. Let's leave you here tonight with that look back at King Street in Boone, where it is most definitely raining. Have a good night.